Thank you. Good morning. For those of you that have never seen me in the flesh before, I do actually come in 3D as well as 2D. The next 20 minutes, and I am conscious I'm between you and coffee, right? So we're going to try and stay to time because I know everyone needs to be caffeinated for these things. I'm going to talk about supporting the community. Before I get into a couple of slides, what would help me this is audience participation. Sorry, I'm going to do a bit of that. Of those people in the audience, please put your hand up if you talk to end users and provide them help, support, and answer their questions. Thank God for that. I'm not talking to a room of people who have no idea what I'm banging on about. Thank you for that. So what I'm going to do in the next 20 minutes is talk about the things that I do when I'm talking to the community, so that even after 20 years of doing it, yeah, I am that old, I'm still getting a kick out of talking to people, and I still look forward to engaging with the community on a daily basis. The support I'm talking about is a little bit different from the support you would provide to a prospect or a customer. This is what sometimes is referred to as the great unwashed. These are all the people out there around the world coming into the project. Now, there's loads of different ways that we can cut up the market and the people that we talk to and support. Okay, there's the classic pyramid where you guys are at the top. Everyone in this room I would consider an expert who knows what they're talking about. You're the orange bit. And then as you go down, you find that the knowledge and expertise decreases, but the number of people in that community increases exponentially. The cool thing is that there's a load of other ones, and I'm not going to go through it because things like the competence cycle, if you want to know more about this, talk to me at lunch. But what's happening is that ArduPilot as a project is becoming more and more popular. So rather than it being something that only weird people did in their bedrooms 15 years ago, they were soldering stuff together to make a UAV just to see if they could. These days, it's billion-dollar business. And that's... Well, let me put it this way. Is there anybody here, when they were a kid, who didn't take their toys apart to see how they worked? Right, okay, prosecution rests. Yeah. Well, the thing is, and this is the point, that is normal for this community. We all are frustrated engineers. We have those kind of brains, and it means that when we are presented with a problem, we naturally try and break down that problem into thinking about what the actual causes could be, and we start to investigate those causes. That kind of skill is fantastically useful when you're trying to fix why your ESC doesn't work in your thing that you've just made. Lots of people coming into the community these days don't necessarily have that same wiring. They aren't the kids that took their toys apart when they were a kid, right? But then when we're sort of trying to support them, we're trying to help them understand how to build what is a relatively complex flying robot using ArduPilot when they don't have that kind of natural instinct. So yeah, we are all a bit weird, but weird in a good way. So I'm going to go through the 6 things that I do when I'm providing free support. So for those of you that already do this, you might kind of know a little bit about this. And as I'm talking about it, you'll kind of go, yeah, I do that. Right? But also, over coffee, I'd love to hear from those of you who do this to kind of give me any tips and tricks that I've missed, because everybody has our own way of doing it and what the time we put into the community and what we get out. For those of you that didn't put your hand up, the reason that this is important is the people that we are training on ArduPilot are going to be your employees and competition in 2 years' time. So this is where those new people are coming from all of us spending hours and hours in forums, YouTube, GitHub, Discord, bashing our head against brick walls, helping these individuals be able to build this stuff and fly it successfully. So here's my 6 top tips. Are you ready? Number 1, when you are going to deal with a community for free and give your time for free, emphasis on the for free, right? You're just doing it because you're giving back to the community. Have a real think before you start down this road about what you will accept, what you want to do, how often you're going to do it, when you're going to do it, what methods of communication. Are you only going to do it on Discord? Are you going to be an idiot like me, making videos on YouTube every day to answer questions? How that's all going to work. But the other side is also have a think about what you expect from the people who ask you for questions. Right? You need to be clear on that and ideally publish it in a way that you can refer to if anyone ever asks you a question that's a little bit spicy. Okay? Now, usually that's part of a forum. There's a comment section, you know, that thing with the forum rules that nobody ever reads, right? But I have a couple of paragraphs under every single one of my videos that I do on YouTube that explains what my expectation is of people interacting with me. Okay? It's a very, very long way of saying don't be an idiot, but basically it lays it out. And if people are not complying with that, then my responses are prorated. Does that make sense? It's good to have that because also when you start engaging with the community, those of you that already look after them, you will know that there's never only one question, right? You answer one question, it's like peeling an onion. There's at least one more, probably two, probably a dozen. Right? And if they find somebody who's willing to help them, they will hold on to dear life, particularly if they're new into the ArduPilot community. They will hold on to you and just go, please, please help me, help me, help me. And that's great, but some of us have families and need to sleep occasionally, so have a think about that. The next one, which kind of leads on to that, is set expectations. All right? The reason that this one is there, and the reason that this is one of my rules, is that I only provide free support via YouTube comments. But if you look, you can find my email address and you can probably get my phone number. And I get lots of emails and phone calls from people. Hi, my name's John. I've just built a quadcopter and it nearly killed me. Can you help me fix it? Right? The danger is that if you're sat on email, and email is not one of the ways I provide support, but the danger is if I'm sat there already doing email and a question comes in from somebody and you think, I know the answer to that, I'll just send the link and you send it off and you reply within 5 minutes. There's somebody nodding vigorously over there. You reply in 5 minutes. That person thinks, brilliant, I've got my own tame YouTuber that can respond in 5 minutes. Let me send him the other 7 questions. If I then don't respond within 5 minutes, I get to him maybe the following day because I did something that involves, you know, normal stuff, then I'll come back and I'll probably find a spicy follow-up with like, oh, have I offended you? And I'm like, hang on a minute, I'm doing this for free. So be careful about managing your expectations. If people are contacting you outside of the routes that you have put in place to provide free support, my rule is I try and leave it 48 hours to reply to any. I'd still reply, but I don't reply quickly. And what that does, it's like training a puppy. It just gives that user the experience of, no, he will get back to you, but it's not going to be instant. And I've not set an expectation that then I'm going to regret in the future. I'm loving all the nodding. All the people who do this like, yeah, been there. Next one. I was told when I was a kid, there is no such thing as a silly question. Okay? And I still absolutely believe that. I think if someone is asking a question, it's because they need help. And if I am able to help, I want to. So there's no such thing as a silly question, but there are definitely lazy and rude ones. And we get those all the time, right? The verbosity and clarity of the question that I get will directly be proportional to the length and clarity of the reply that I give. If somebody says to me, hi Lee, big fan, watch your videos all the time, building XYZ, had this problem, I've tried this, I'm really stuck. Any help you can provide will be amazing. Cheers, John. I'm going to spend a bit of time. I'm going to write a couple of paragraphs, give them a couple of links, things to try. If it's a one-liner, I'm not going to actually show of hands who's had these, but I guess it's going to be everybody, which is something like, follow video, doesn't work, what problem, 7 exclamation marks. I can't really help with that. So what I will normally do in those instances, I still want to reply and I want to try and help because they're obviously stuck, but my reply, and you'll see it, if you ever look at my videos, right, you'll scroll through this after this talk and you'll go, oh, he's done that. I say, what troubleshooting have you already done? Question mark. That's my standard response. Almost always, I never get a reply. The reason I never get a reply is because that individual's probably sent that exact same question to a dozen people, and he's got the response from somebody else. But if they cannot engage with me to provide some very basic information, I'm on a hiding to nothing. I'm never going to be able to help them. That leads me to the third category. Never, ever feed the trolls. Now, this is different if you're in a business. We were talking about this just before. If you're in a business and they are your customers and they're being hard work, that's tough. They give you money, you're stuck with them, right? When you're providing free support, you are allowed to dictate how you deal with these people. In the early days, I would try and, if somebody was being a little bit, let's call it spicy, right? And giving me nasty comments, either personally attacking me, someone else in the comment, oh, can't believe you're such an idiot. Whatever it is, I kind of would respond to them, usually the day after, to let any emotion drain away and say, are you okay? Right? Very, very rarely in those instances in the early days, they would reply and say something along the lines of, yeah, really sorry. I was really frustrated. I've spent all this money. I've been trying to make this ArduPilot thing fly and it just won't. I kind of took it out on you. Can you help me? Right? That happened twice. Right? The rest of it was all like, brilliant. I've got an audience. And it was more vitriol. I have a zero tolerance policy for people who cannot be polite and follow the rules of society. They're asking me for help for free, and it's a nice community. So my advice would be, and this was actually a piece that came from Bart, a guy called Bart at Hobby King. In the early days, I was lamenting about how nasty some people could be. And when you put yourself out there on the internet, you're going to bump into these guys and girls. He said, it's dead easy. You just don't engage with them and you delete and ban them. And I do. And that means the comment section is a much nicer place. And if someone asks a genuine question that may have been answered a million times before because they only came to ArduPilot last week, somebody isn't going to go, oh, you idiot, I can't believe you've asked that. It's so obvious. Next one. These last two are ones that I've only added, even though I've been doing this for like 20 years at this point, I've only added these in the last 18 months. So I used to only have 4 rules, so it would have been a much shorter talk if I'd have done this before. It's about symptoms, not causes. Lots and lots of the people, and there's a presentation this afternoon from a group who provide help and support to students, and they'll kind of reiterate some of this. There is this thing where people come to us and they ask for help and they report a symptom. They don't know they're reporting a symptom, but they are. My ESC won't turn my motor. What's the problem? Well, let's get the whiteboard out. There's about 12 things that we probably need to check. Helping people understand how to troubleshoot has, in the past 2 or 3 years, become more of what I do, where historically the people in the ArduPilot community were almost all the people who took their things apart when they were a kid. It's less of that is happening. The other thing is that if I want to make a video now about helping people fix that problem, calling it ArduPilot ESC calibration demo is a really crappy title. Why is it a crappy title? Well, it's a crappy title because that's not what the person who's looking for the solution is going to search for. They're going to search for motor doesn't start until quarter throttle. That's actually what they're going to search for. So I now try and call my videos to help people what the people are going to be searching for, not what just died. No, it's back. Last one, and this has happened about 18 months ago. I was having a couple of engagements with a couple of people and really struggling. It was one of those where I was hitting my head against the brick wall. I was having the same conversation over and over again, inside, outside, for about 6 weeks. And I just couldn't understand why we weren't making any progress. And it only came about, the reason only came apparent after I was kind of going, hang on a minute, something's not right here. One of them was a 70-year-old guy with early onset dementia. And the other guy had been in a motorcycle accident and had a critical head injury, right? Some people will tell you if they have a cognitive issue when you are trying to help them. Lots of people don't. So my rule of thumb, and this is a bit of a weird one to talk about, but if you are ever in a support situation and the individual you're talking to is really struggling, or you're just like, this just doesn't make sense, just take a step back. You may be dealing with somebody with severe ADHD or some dementia, Alzheimer's, critical brain injury, all kinds of different things. So just keep that in mind. The last tip, which is part of this, is never, ever get involved with a support call when you are in a grumpy mood. Right? It works the other way. So if you drove out of your drive in the morning and backed over the cat, that's not the day for you to try and help people, because you will probably be spicier than you intend to be. Okay, so those are my 6 rules. The last thing, as I'm wrapping up, because I am going to be on time, is a personal thank you to me as an ArduPilot pilot, someone out here in the community, for all the stuff that you do in the project and give to us, me, and all the other hundreds of thousands of people around the world for free. Massive thank you for all that you do, because I love this stuff and I love talking about it and playing with it. And the fact that I can download it for free is, quite frankly, amazing. My email is at the bottom. It's lee@painless360.com. If you have a situation where you answer the same question over and over and over and over again, and we do, because new people are coming in all the time, and there isn't a modern video or piece of content that you can link them to go, that's a really great question, there's this post or this video, I am always looking for video subjects to make stuff on. Just pop me an email at lee@painless360.com. I can't guarantee I'll always get to do it. And usually poor Ben at 3DXR has to help me out doing the really complicated stuff. He's ignoring me at the moment, quite right. But do let me know, because I don't mind making content like that, because ultimately a rising tide lifts all boats. So thank you very much for your attention. I will hand over to Matt, and you can have some caffeine and crack on with the rest of your day. Thanks for your attention, and thanks for your help.
Thank you for joining us for the ArduPilot Developers Conference 2025. With thanks to our sponsors, 3DXR, Aerosystems West, CUAV, QPilot, High-Tech, Polybro, IR-Lock, KH Unmanned, Kraus Hamdani Aerospace, Maytech, Modal AI, Northwest Blue, SD Model, and Theseus. Organised by KH Unmanned. Hosted by 3DXR in North Yorkshire. Broadcast by Q Branch.